to look at the ecosynomics and harmonic vibrancy of your experiences, the agreements you have, the outcomes that you achieve. I think it's helpful to start with your own experience, what you know in your own way of experiencing life. To do this, I want to start with a couple of different experiences that you have. So I'm going to ask you to join into two different worlds and see what you know from those experiences. The first is I'm going to take over into this world. So I'm going to ask you to imagine in this hand is this world, this experience that you have. And in this experience, it's one of, as you start to think about this experience, as you get ready to go to this experience, you start feeling your energy depleting. You start thinking, oh, am I really going to be going here? And you start to notice a lack of interest or desire to be doing this. You also notice that when you arrive at the meeting or group or space, and when you're at the end of that space or time with those folks, that you notice a depleting of your energy, a fatiguing. And the question is, have you ever experienced this? Another way that you know that you've had this experience is when you start at the end of this, you notice that you have to medicate yourself somehow. You think, oh, I need to go for a walk, I need to go for a run, I need to go bowling, I need to go have a beer, a coffee, I need to go do something, not here, not with you people, and not now. So elsewhere than right here with you right now. And the question is if you've ever had this experience. So I want you to ask yourself, really, have you had this experience? Do you know this experience? Now we're going to leave that over here to this side. We're going to now ask you to forget that experience and think about a different experience from this universe. And in this universe, this is a space or group or place that you go to. And as you start thinking about going there, as you start arriving to there, you start noticing that you get more energetic, more excitement. And between when you arrive at this place and when you finish being in this place or with this group, you notice that you're smarter, that you have more ideas, that you're more emotionally engaged, that more of you is available and present. And at the end of this experience, you start to notice, hey, is it already over? Are we done? I'd like to go spend more time with you. Why don't we go continue on or go out and do something else together? And the question is whether you've had this experience. As I've asked this experience, the groups in many different places about these two different experiences, the one that's more energy fatiguing, the one that's more energy enhancing, and we find that groups everywhere, and maybe you too have had that experience of recognizing these two different experiences. So the question now is, if you've had these experiences of energy depleting and energy enhancing, the second question is then, do you know the difference? And I believe that if you've had these two experiences, I find that you do know the difference. And most of the time, even when you're in the experience, you notice the difference in these two experiences. Now the next question is, if you know that there's a difference in these experiences, and you've had both of these experiences, which one do you have more frequently in your life? So I ask you to reflect for a minute, what percentage of your life on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, a daily basis do you spend more in this world, the energy depleting world, or more towards this end of the energy enhancing world? As I've asked this of many different groups, people in very different circumstances, big business, government, civil society, communities, to small and different parts of the world, we find many people spend a great percentage of their life over in the energy depleting side versus this energy enhancing side. So now we've distinguished between this experience that you've had over here in energy depleting or over here in energy enhancing, that you know the difference, that you experience a certain percentage of your life over here and over here. So the next question I want to ask you to reflect on is, do you have a preference? Now, if you are one of the folks, like many that I've met, who say that they spend much of their life over on this side, then clearly your preference must be to be on this side, right? And as you might have just done, as many do, to say, well, of course this isn't my preference, this is my preference. The energy enhancing is my preference. And now that's interesting for us. If you have both of these experiences, you know the difference, and you spend most of your life over here, the question is, why? Now what we hear, and I want you to actually answer that for yourself. What we hear often is, well, these kinds of experiences I have to do, right? Because that's just the way it is. And these are the kinds of experiences I choose to live. And the question is that always true? People will often say, well, this is about work, and this is about fun, family, and friends. And then somebody often says, well, not necessarily. Sometimes at work, which is usually here, we also experience this way. And sometimes with my friends and family, we actually have this experience. So it's not consistently always that way. Well, then if it's not always that way, then what makes a difference? And what we'll come to as we start to reflect on that more, and maybe you're already starting to see that, is it's a choice. It's a set of agreements. And we actually hear that in the language people use. When we talk about and debrief with folks or ask questions and inquire into your experience here versus here, said, well, it has to be that way here, but we sort of agree to be this way here. But sometimes this is the same group, and this is the same group. So the question becomes, what are the agreements that we're accepting or choosing that allow us to spend more of our time here or here? And that's where we're going to be using some of the frameworks in ecosynomics and harmonic vibrancy to help us understand the difference in these two experiences. What are the agreements that support more of this experience versus this, and how we can make choices to move towards the one that we actually prefer.